Welcome to the fourth edition of the China-Denmark Education Forum. It's the fourth edition, but it's the first time we get the chance to meet in person. And we're meeting here in Denmark, in the middle of the country, on the island of Fyn, at a place called Nordfyns Højskole. The school is part of the Danish free school movement. And I'm a teacher here at the school, and I'll be moderating the conversation today with representatives from the Danish and the Chinese education system. But before we get started, I would like to give the floor to the two chairmen of the forum, Li Shengxi and Mogens Godvel.
亲爱的各位教育同仁，大家好。当第一期至第三期中丹教育论坛迫于肆虐的疫情而不得不通过网络举行时，我们就期待着能够在线下相聚，彼此能够感受到对方的气息，才是真正的教育。现在大规模的疫情已经过去，我们终于相聚于美丽的丹麦北非因民众学院，再次共话教育。我首先代表中国教育30人论坛，向联合主办这次论坛的丹麦终身学习协会表示衷心的感谢。这次论坛的主题是：对于教育而言， ChatGPT 是一种威胁还是一份礼物？我们将集中讨论人工智能日新月异发展的背景下，教育的价值何在？这是一个有意思也有意义的话题。说它有意思，是因为当教育诞生之初，人类可能没有想到，属于人类独有的教育会因人类自己的创造与创新而感到不安，甚至恐惧。中国的成语自作自受在这里有了别样的幽默含义。说它有意义，是因为纵观历史，教育的发展总是与人类的科技进步相联系。科技发明从来都是推动教育前进的一种强大的工具力量，我们不能视而不见。如果人类能够把握机会，主动应对时代的变化，我们将迎来教育的大变革与大发展。也就是说，任何一次科技发明的出现，对教育究竟是一种威胁还是一份礼物，全在于人类自己的理性判断与智慧选择。正如国际歌所唱，要创造人类的幸福，全靠我们自己。这就要求我们重新审视教育的价值，以及呈现和传递这种价值的方式，并给予更多的教育者提供建设性的参考意见或建议。这就是我们这次论坛的宗旨所在。人工智能的飞速发展，把我们推到了教育发展的关键时刻，应对新的情况，调整新的策略，明确新的选择，这当然有赖于更多教育的有识之士的共识，而不是我们这个小小论坛所能完成的全部使命。但中丹教育论坛的思考不会没有意义，我们的思想不会没有价值。我相信中丹教育论坛每一位参与者的声音都不会被埋没，相反，我们的呼吁与建言将成为鼓舞教育人不断探索的和谐音符，汇入人类前进的宏伟乐章，共同推动教育的高歌猛进。我还要感谢为这次论坛付出辛勤劳动的丹麦终身学习协会的 Lisa 女士和郭斌老师，感谢北非因民众学院为这次论坛提供的支持。当然，我也要感谢所有参与与关注这次论坛的朋友，预祝论坛圆满成功。谢谢。
Hello, Mr. Lee. Thank you very much for your welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so happy today that we're able to meet physically, because now we have been doing the online courses for a long time. But it's something special meeting here physically, face to face, seeing our body language and feeling us as human beings. Dear Chinese listeners, please receive my best greetings, because in the whole world of today, we have a common challenge, that is to understand, to get the best use of AI for the future, for learning, for labor market, and for our general life. In China and Denmark, it's important that we build up a debate, a discussion among ordinary citizens, so that we are able to discuss pros and cons about this AI development. We should not oppose it, but we should make our own opinion. In the country of enlightenment, it's important that we ask the citizens to make up your opinions, to discuss and to debate all over society. Robotization has taken place for many decades now, and research tells us that unskilled labor will be diminishing for the future. So the whole labor market, the whole way of producing will be changed. But now we are facing a new challenge, that we have human-like robots who can do narratives, who can think, who can tell stories and can do things human-like. So it's important among ordinary citizens in China, in Denmark and all over the world to discuss ethical, juridical and educational aspects of AI, so that we are well prepared to use the benefits of AI, because we should not oppose it. It's part of our life. It will be developed further for the future, but it's important that we have a democratic discussion before we implement it. And I really think if we choose the right angle towards using AI, we'll be able to have it as an assistance into learning and helping human beings. But if we are not prepared, then the risk is that the robots will take over and we'll be assisting the robots. And that's not the human attitude and human approach. So I look forward to today's debate. Lots of information, input we'll have for the further discussion. So welcome to the Danish Chinese Forum.
Thank you to the two chairmen for their welcome speech. All right, now I would like to welcome our first guest today. And it's going to work like this. In a short while, I'm going to hand over the scene to you two. And I'll ask you to shortly introduce yourself. What's your background and why are you talking about this education topic? And then hopefully it will give way to a good conversation between the two of you. So now I'd like to introduce you to Hans-Henrik Knob, Associate Professor, and Michael Chung.
I'm Hans-Henrik Knob from Aarhus University. I'm a psychology professor and have been working on educational issues for 2.5 decades. I also work in South Africa part-time as an extraordinary professor, where we look at the issues of education in the South African context. And I'm very happy to be here today. It's great to be able to talk about well-being, which has been part of my research focus for many years. Well-being is a central goal and ideal for everybody, of course, and it's really at stake when we talk about ChatGDP and the challenges of regulating these machines that are threatening to take over many of the decisions that humans have made so far. So there's a lot to play for, and I think we have a lot of tools to work with, also psychologically, and I look forward to discussing that with you.
大家好，我是江月平，我有个英文名叫 Michael， 然后有一个网名叫麦克，小麦的麦，客人的客。我目前担任中国21世纪教育研究院的理事，也是中国另外一个教育公益组织火柴公益的理事。另外我还担任其他几个教育公益组织的战略发展顾问。我这几年特别关注中国教育的几个层面，一是教育的理念，二是教育的方法，然后还有就是教育的相关的各级的政策，行政的管理的改善空间。所以今天我也特别高兴能够来到这个美丽的北非民族学院，然后能够跟 Hans 一起来做这个对话，然后非常期待。
I would just maybe like for you to start by defining this concept of well-being. What does it mean? Then we have a good starting point for the conversation.
What is well-being? Well-being is a topic where there are so many definitions out there that often people are confused at what we're even talking about when we talk about well-being. But I think a good common ground that many people know, and many Chinese people know, is the concept of the hierarchy of needs developed by Abraham Maslow, where you have these different needs in this pyramid. And the idea is that every human has these needs. And that means that we are motivated to satisfy these needs. And when they are satisfied, the combined result will be well-being. And in that sense, well-being is almost a synonym for health. So you can have physical health and you can have mental health. And since everybody wants that, humanity can unite around these topics, around the ideal of well-being. This is a very important basic insight for education, because no matter whether you have opposition or you have backwind, whether you have problems or you're just flourishing, it will be an advantage for you to be healthy. So when we face this ChatGDP problem, whatever the problem is, it will be to our advantage to have well-being.
这个汉斯这个话题，我很高兴你谈到一个非常重要的事情，就是当我们在谈ChatGPT 和 AI 对我们人类的挑战的时候，实际上这个有点是一个非常高级的话题。那么其实在它的下边还有一个基础，那就是健康。那么在100多年以前，中国有一代的中国的教育家，比如陶行知先生、晏阳初先生梁漱溟先生、鲁作孚先生等，他们都共享着这同一个理念，说教育的本质基础还是要让学生做一个身心健康的人。
And I could expand on that. I think that's an excellent point. And that also tells us indirectly that these different features of well-being, these different components of well-being that we have in the hierarchy of needs, they can all be checkpoints as regards the utility of ChatGDP. So does ChatGDP promote your health? Does it promote your autonomy? Does it promote your competence, social relatedness, and so on? So that's and since these are not controversial ideals, because everybody wants well-being, I think we can unite around the ideal of well-being when we address this problem and this challenge of ChatGPT also.
实际上您说的这个对于健康、对于自主性这个检查，实际上是非常有必要的，也是一个很好的工具。那么在中国的话，我们有一个挑战，就是我们有一个强大的应试体制，就是我们有一个高考，它是绝大部分学生和家长认为的教育的最重要的目标。因为这个压倒性的目标，所以很多家长包括很多教育者都把学生的把所有的精力和关注都投入到如何在这样的一个这一条道路上能够跑得比别人更快，取得更好的成绩，比别人达到更好的分数。实际上对学生的身心健康的关注已经太少了。那在 ChatGPT 到来的时候，确实对我们中国的绝大部分的学校来说，教育者来说，是一个双重的考验，因为既要补上过去已经被忽视的功课，又要面对 ChatGPT 带来的新的这一层挑战。
Yeah, and this is there are so many dimensions to this, and often people's well-being is compromised because the competition is too hard, or there are constraints that are developed earlier in history that have deep roots traditionally, and that just are difficult to change. One of the things we face here in Denmark is that when the pupils have to learn things, often they don't appear quite meaningful to them. Nevertheless, it's in the curriculum and they have to do it and so on. So the teacher challenge, of course, is to make sure he or she is able to explain why this is meaningful so that the pupils can discipline themselves in a meaningful way. And that is fine. That is what is experienced as wholeheartedness. I would rather play games or something, but I understand from my teacher why this is important. So I can be wholehearted in that. My need for autonomy is satisfied in that sense. This is important, and that's often compromised. And I think that's at play also in what you're saying, Michael.
学生寻找学习的意义这件事我想这可能是在各个国家比较普遍的现象。那么在我们中国，这个现象可能尤其的挑战尤其大，因为为了考试和分数这个压倒性的目标的时候，那就有太多的压力在学生和老师身上，就是一定要把考试可能考到的内容学得越多越好，时间都集中在这个地方。所以呢，在这样的一个相当于是外部的一个强制性的环境里，学生就更难感受到这个学习的意义。那造成的结果，我们现在也比较痛苦，就是有非常多的中国学生现在已经面临着，尤其到青春期以后，已经面临着这个严重的心理问题。我实际上非常希望，就是中国的教育者和家长能够给学生多留一点点的空间，能够有像我们在丹麦体会到的民众学院这样的和青年学校这样的环境，能够让学生能够去有一定的空间和机会去探索他自己到底是谁，那么他心中有什么样的光，他能够他现阶段的生命意义到底是什么。
Yeah, and this is completely central to every educator, what you're talking about, Michael. And it's a big challenge to satisfy those needs among students because of the system that we have built, and that is difficult to change. But I'm reminded that if we go back to the roots of learning, to childhood, children are born into the world as self-organizing organisms that come into the world and they want to learn. And they want to learn effectively. So, and that by all likelihood, we tend to remain like that throughout life. So when we have this dialogue, of course, we want to learn effectively, as fast as possible, become as competent in dialogue with one another as possible. So you don't really need anybody telling you that you have to be effective when the environment works for you. You are inclined to make it effective because it's the most fun and it's the most learning rich experience. So that means once we understand that and we are able to accommodate that, there's a lot of authority that we don't need. Though we used to think that we need to remote control people very much. We don't do that. We don't need that. And if I could just add to that of course pupils need discipline. You can't maintain a culture if you don't discipline your population and tell them about the traditions and what their parents did and all that, which we sometimes call dannelse in Denmark, but which is also simply knowledge about where you came from that gives meaning to your life. We cannot do without that. My point is, though, that in order to really transmit a culture,
to really have a culture flourish into the next generations, it cannot be an mostly unpleasant experience, because if you sense an educational process as something very unpleasant, you'll be likely to turn your back on it as soon as you can, and then the whole cultivation process is more or less failing. So we should just avoid that kind of double problem.
你刚才你刚才这段话谈到了3个非常重要的元素。第一个，我想信任，因为作为教育者和家长，首先必须相信孩子，他像您讲到的，他生来就是一个学习者，他甚至生来就带有很多的能力，只是我们成年人认为他们没有。我刚才的今天还会有一位嘉宾，下一场的嘉宾，这个肖时坚老师，他在他的田字格实验学校，他们做过很多这样的尝试，就是让1、2年级一开始让3、4、5年级的学生去参与到对学校的一些事情的讨论中，然后发现他们做得很好，他们都有自己的做出的选择是非常有水平的，非常好的。然后呢，后来他们又尝试把这个实验做到1、2年级，一开始很多人老师反对说1、2年级小学生他怎么有这个能力呢？但是事实上他们的尝试结果说明1、2年级的学生做出的选择一样是高质量，所以这个是一个我自己听到的一个非常好的例子，就是说明只要教育者和家长给孩子信任，他们天生就是很厉害的学习者。我想第二个你谈到的第2个关键的概念就是教育要有根，那么这个根是根植在自己的心里的，它也跟学生的这个感受到的文化有关系，和他所感受到的环境有关系。那这个我们也看到，在中国呢也看到很多很好的例子。那比如说这个我们的这个中丹论坛的中方主席李振西先生啊，他在多年的教育实践中就一直在呼吁这个要给学生让他找到自己的精神和文化的根。那有了这个根以后，面对 ChatGPT 或其他的不断变化的、不断发展的科技的挑战的时候，学生才有可能去有一个不变的可以永远支撑他们的一个心理基础。这也是马斯洛理论的马斯洛的那个模型里边中间的那个心理层面的一个人的一个天然需要。第3个，你刚刚谈到的第3个关键的元素是快乐。就一个人，我是非常相信，因为我自己的学习经历，我就证明了这一点。我在上大学的时候，高中和大学的时候就经常逃课。为什么？因为我不喜欢，我不快乐，在教室里听到的东西。那么在中国呢，我们也开始在注意到，有些有创新精神的教育者也开始注意到了这一点。比如我们今天还有一位后边的 speaker， 就是我们北京日新学校的这个创始人大车老师。那么他们在日新，我去日新的时候我就非常感动，就这个学校它跟绝大部分的中国学校非常不同的一点，它让孩子感到很快乐。在这个学校你会看到他们的学生眼睛里是有光的，那么他们学校的学生用在单纯的书本学习上的时间并不太多，用在玩耍上的时间要比别的中国学校多很多。但是结果怎么样呢？他们学校的学生在后续的从他们这毕业以后，后续的学习中，他们的成绩一样也不差，经常反而更好。当然像日新这样的学校，像李振西校长这样的老师，像这个田字格这样的学校是非常在中国还是非常少的。但是我想起码这些教育的创新者代表我们中国教育的一个方向。
And I think that's, if I could add to that point, we understand pretty well how children's play is functioning now. And one of the most important insights we have regarding education is that when you play, you have to concentrate fully, and you have to make your utmost effort in order to have your whole attention on the play experience. Otherwise, the play experience goes away. So you have to be fully concentrated. And that means that you have actually to be as effectively learning and creating as you possibly can in order to have this experience that everything is as easy as child's play. This is important because this means that you can have a real good time in school while at the same time really performing. And that is the point that you're making. That's what you're seeing years later when they have the spirit and they have the endurance and they have the commitment and they understand the meaning because life is interesting. That resource is invaluable. And often our traditional industrial school structures have not accommodated that. And we pay a price culturally.
是的，这个我们这一次在丹麦，我们也看到了去访问了一个学校，这个学校是个公立学校，就在飞鹰岛上。那这个公立学校，我们很高兴的看到，就是他们也已经开始尝试游戏化的教学。那孩子们做了，我们看了一个项目，就是孩子们做了就是他们在学习关于水循环如何更好的利用水这个项目。那么他们3、4年级的学生，他们做了一个就是做了一个游戏。12年级的学生做了一个游戏。他们这个游戏就是让他们在这个通过掷骰子的方式，然后让他们在地面上去把水的在自然界怎么循环全部走一遍。那这个方式对小学生来说看上去就非常有效。然后在3、4年级的，他们3、4年级的学生有更适合3、4年级的游戏方式来实现这个对水循环的教学。那在中国，其实这也让我想到，在中国实际上我们也有一些创新的教育机构在做同样的探索，就是比如在成都有一个先锋学校，那么在佛山有一个叫乐谷学校，那么这些学校在成都还有一个好奇生活学习社区。那这些教育的创新者都非常成功的把游戏甚至是电子竞技游戏都能够，就是所谓的网络游戏都能够用来做教育的工具。如果教育者知道怎么去引导和激发学生在玩耍中教育的乐趣和教育的真理。
And I think gaming is a very instructive methodology because it's very akin, very alike playing, but it has a structural component to it also. So whenever you have a game, you have clear rules, you have clear goals, you have evaluation. You know, it's brutal. You if you die, you die. So that's it. So you get all these formal structural components going at the same time, and everybody loves it. Why do they love it when they want their freedom? Because they are liberating. Because these structures in the game are liberating. So the football players don't have to spend time discussing what's the purpose of football. They know, and therefore they can have a good time. So that's one of the most important criteria of legislation and rules and structures. Is that they're liberating people to function within those rules. And this liberation should not only be on paper and cognitive, it should be felt. And when we feel it, it's this wholeheartedness. This is a feeling of this emotional liberation. That's what we sense as wholeheartedness.
还是今天非常高兴能够与你有这样的交谈。我觉得我们时间太少了，还有很多的话题 特别是今天这个论坛的主题 ChatGPT 对教育到底是一个福音还是一个威胁？其实我知道你有很多，我也有很多话想说，但是我们时间不够了。好在还有很多的，我们后边还有好几组嘉宾可以对这个话题做进一步的诠释。
So thank you so much for this discussion between the two of you. That was very informative and interesting, and we got to talk about well-being in the education system. Hopefully we'll also get back to ChatGPT and its implications on the school system. But thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation. That was very enlightening. We would now like to welcome our first guests, and they are Xiao Xinjing and Mads Poulsen, and you're principals at different schools. Welcome to you first and foremost. Would you like to maybe present yourself very shortly? Let's start with our guest here first.
大家好，我是田字格的创始人，也是田字格实验学校的总校长。我们在中国贵州有3所实验学校。我很高兴能够来到这个论坛，和我们的校长进行交流。
My name is Mads Poulsen. I'm the headmaster of efterskole in Denmark called Eisbjerghus International Efterskole. I've been the headmaster for 7 years. Our main goal is to make students meet across different cultures. So we do exchange programs with China, Japan, South Korea, Hungary and Spain. And it's very important for us that they meet up one-on-one. And I've always also been the principal of a public school, so I've been working with school leadership for 19 years.
I think a lot of people felt with the emergence of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT in particular, it felt very much like a watershed moment. It felt like a turning point. How do you see that in your daily lives? How do you think this artificial intelligence will influence you and your work as educators and as leaders of your schools?
I think that right now in Denmark, this is a big question, and especially chat bots and AI is making their way into the life of our students. And I'm not sure that we have all the questions and all the answers right now to give, but when I talk with my students about the chatbots, they on the one hand think that this is a good thing, but they also see the dangers.
我必须说呢 ，ChatGPT 在中国是一个很新的事情。我们的学校层面并没有真的接触到它，但是我们在所有的非学校的体系开始有部分人能够接触到它。那大家还是非常热烈的去讨论这个问题。对于我们来讲 ChatGPT 的问题可能不仅仅是一个 ChatGPT 的问题，是我们如何面对新科技的问题。那么目前来讲，中国呢是我们的还是大门是关着的对待这种新的科技。因为我们中国现实的一个问题，我们还没有对 ChatGPT 进行开放。这个呢会我觉得更多的是我们将要以怎样的态度来面对新科技的问题。这就像让我想起了我们在面对COVID-19 的这个问题是一样的。当时呢，当这个病毒来的时候呢，我们的大门也是采用的是全部封闭的情况。事实的结果呢是，无论我们关门还是不关门，当时呢这个病毒都在那里。今天我们面对 GPT 其实也是这样。无论我们这个门关还是不关 ，GPT 应该是还会在飞速的发展。所以呢，当我们2年之后中国开门的时候，那我们就面对更加凶猛的这个去要面对它各种困难。如果我们丧失了和新的科技的拥抱的这个机会这个机会我认为也是一个学习的机会，也是一个挑战的机会。
I think that we have decided in Denmark right now the opposite direction, so our door is totally open, and that also gives us some challenges. That are we actually able to make the choices that we are going to make sure that our students and our teachers and myself, we know how to act with these new technologies. And that's what I think is also one of the questions that we are going to have a debate about in Denmark, is how to cope with this. We are a school where the students stay with also at night. So they are there for a full year, 120 young students together. And we can see that the development of the use of social medias has exploded the last years. And we don't like to make regulations, but we as adults have to have the debate about how to help our students live in a world where everything is upfront.
其实我听到这个对话，我有一个点啊，无论是开放还是关闭，其实他用了一个非常重要的词，那就是准备啊。我想知道你认为准备都需要准备什么？就算准备好了，你说我们现在还没有准备好，那从哪些方面说我们可以要准备？那准备好了。
Oh, I'm not sure that I have all the answers for that very big question. But one of the things that we discuss at my school, and also in society, I think in general, is how to give the students the ability to make the choices that they are going to make, to give them critical thinking, to give them the understanding of not everything that looks good at first sight is actually the best thing for them on the long run. And they have to make choices every day. At my school, they can choose to play pool with a former student, or they can take their phone and talk with the chatbot. And they need the skills to make that big choice in their life. And that's choices they make every day, many times a day. So critical thinking, reflective competences, I think is very important.
那我继续想理解一下啊，那我的理解，他的意思是说，我们要让孩子们从大量的训练当中获得一种能力，这个能力就是说，我要不断的去批判性的思维啊，不断的去进行选择，我要对我的选择承担责任啊。那么他从多小的时候要进行训练。2，那我们在我们人类进行训练的同时，我认为 AI 也不断的在完善啊，它也在训练的更加的智慧，或者是更加的聪明啊。那我们的训练，当我们的训练不够的时候，人类的训练不够的时候，会不会面临着一种情境，就是说 AI 发展的很快，比我们人类发展的快，而我们的人类的训练又不够的时候，我们不够聪明过它。那我们会不会被 AI 主导到？
That's a big question. I think that's one of the reasons why right now, and especially the last days in Denmark, has been full of stories about what should we do, because things are developing in such a great speed that we are actually not ready to make the choices how to regulate AI or chatbots. So I think we are going to have a talk about how can we, from a very early age on, and that's the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 years old in the kindergartens, how can we give the students more critical thinking, and also to show them there is a choice to make between an artificial world or the actual world. I think we will see even more things in our schools taking the students out of the digital world and into the more real world of the outside. And so I think that we will see both local schools but also governments make some kind of regulations, because I'm not sure that one person on their own is clever enough to make the decisions that's the best for the one person. So I think that we need some kind of regulations. So somewhere in between the open door and the closed door, we need to have the door open, but not fully opened. And I think we'll see that in the coming weeks, months, that also on a government level, I think we will see some kind of regulations about how to help the students make these decisions.
那我刚刚听到啊，实际上我们在教育上有3点，一个呢是批判性思维，一个是民主对话，一个是要在真实的世界里面进行学习哈。这个是我们来应对未来的 AI 的3点啊。那即使这样的一个教育，是否也带来丹麦现在社会的一些困惑？比如说，为什么丹麦的现在的抑郁率依然这么高，和我们的这种教育方式是否有关系
？We are still in a process about how to do things. I can also at my school see that the well-being of the students is under pressure. So I think that's one of the reasons why we have to talk about how can we help the students. I don't think we have found the perfect way of doing things, but in the process of allowing us to have a debate about it, we can actually make some kind of idea about how can we help the students instead of just take everything away from the students. Not the closed door, but not the open door. So we have to have the discussion.
那我也很想知道，就是说学生的这个压力和他的这个选择太多是否有关联？
Yes. I'm quite sure that one of the issues right now in let's talk about the Danish society is that students in a very young age have to make decisions, in my opinion, too many decisions. And that's also one of the reasons that at our school we are talking about making more simple decisions for the students, because they don't have to make choices every day about what to eat, when to go to bed, how to be with their friends. We try to give them a smaller path to walk on. We make the students be part of making overall decisions, but I think it's important that we simplify things sometimes for the students. But it's very important for me that we also have the freedom to do it on our way in our school with the profile that we have. So I think the good thing about the government or the regulation that I work or do a school in is that we have the choice of making the way that we do it in our school. And it's not the same as the neighbor school or this school. So we can make the choices that's the right one for us and the staff and the students.
那对我来讲，这是一个很有趣的问题，就是说您将怎么去做这个平衡？你以什么为目标？就什么是你的目标，让你去选择这个平衡？是为什么学生可以在哪一个范围内做他们的决定？哪一个范围是你的边界，不让他们做这个决定？
I think the most important thing is to be aware of that you can make that thin line. You can make a decision at the beginning of the year and walk the same line the whole year. So that's why we have this discussion, ongoing discussions with the staff, with the students, with the colleagues about how to walk this thin line and hopefully make the line a bit wider. There is no correct answer, I think. There is no way that you can do this and you can do it in every school in Denmark, then everything is perfect. I'm not a fan of government regulated one way to do it. I'm the fan of having an open critical discussion about how to do things. So I think that my role as a school leader is to facilitate the talks in my staff and with the students. To get back to the first question, is that the function of a school leader in Denmark, I think at the moment, is to have an open mind, to be willing to take the discussions with the staff and not thinking that I have all the answers to the questions, because I don't. And the staff, they don't have all the answers to the questions. And the students, they don't have all the answers. So we have to meet up in an open-minded, critical discussion about how to do things, how to take care of issues.
Max， 你要知道，我来自中国，我们的传统文化不太擅长讨论，所以我就对你什么问题不能讨论非常感兴趣。比如说，你刚才好像提到了几点来上学，这是不能讨论的。类似于这样的问题，到底有哪些是不能讨论的？
I'm not sure that I can give you a complete answer about that. I think what's important for us is to keep an open mind, and when we face challenges, that we actually allow us to talk about this is a challenge, and we don't have the answers. We can ask the questions. So I think it's so important that when we lack the knowledge, we seek the knowledge.
那你在过去的1年当中有没有承担过，比如说大家公共决定做了一个决定以后，这个决定对你的学校的发展很糟糕，你认为很糟糕的，然后你要承担某种后果的，有没有这样的一个例子？
So I should tell you about my failures. Perfect. Yes. I actually think that you have made the reference to COVID-19 and coming out of COVID-19. I think coming from a very regulated situation in Denmark where the government told us this is how you're supposed to be, we made the wrong decision to make everything very open afterwards. So we didn't actually this year regulate our students' use of phones that much as we used to do. And I think that is a failure, because coming from a very tight and closed situation, and then giving them the space of try to make the decisions on your own, what's best for you, I think they were actually not able to do that. Because coming from 3 years of, if you do this, this is wrong. If you do this, this is right. And now they should actually manage it on their own. I think that was a failure for us. They are 15 to 17 years old. And I think that one of the things that we try to do now, even more than we did before, is to give the student a sense of belonging to a community, and also to have meaning with their life. Meaning not only for themselves, but also for the other ones the other lives that they take part in. I'm very obsessed with creating meaning for the students, and the students should create meaning, not what's only good for me, but what is also good for those who I share a room with or those who I go to classes with.
Thank you so much. That was a very interesting conversation. I think we're going to have to round it off here. Thank you so much for participating, both of you. All right, welcome back. Now we're going to talk to some of the parents. And I think parents often experience that there's a whole life that their young children have on the internet, with social media and on different platforms. And that has probably intensified with the emergence of AI and with the emergence of chat robots. So we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of impact that will have on the education and also the upbringing that parents would like to create in the future. So with me today I have 2 parents. I have Wang Xiaofeng and Peter Skov. And I would love for you to shortly introduce yourselves. Would you like to go first?
好，大家好，我叫王晓峰，是北京日新学堂的创始人，也是校长。但是今天我的身份是家长，我有2位女儿，现在已经长大了。今天我代表的是家长，从家长这个角度来看现在 AI 的发展以及 GDP 对我们的影响，希望能在此和 Peter 我们能畅所欲言。
Thank you. My name is Peter Skov. I'm also here on behalf of being a father. I have 2 kids, 2 teenagers. And of course, I like it very much to be able to discuss with another father regarding the impact of AI and ChatGDP, and also what can happen in the future for the young generation.
So my question for you would be, what is your main concern in terms of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, for you as fathers and as parents?
我没有担忧。我觉得这是一件对于我们的孩子，对于未来的孩子，是一个大大的大礼包啊！中国人讲这是个大礼包为什么呢？因为中国的孩子众所周知，他们的学习太辛苦了，他们每天就在那儿作业写，刷题刷，没有时间玩，没有时间快乐，也没有时间 让自己成长。我觉得他们太苦了。我作为父亲，我更关心我的孩子是不是很快乐，是不是很开心，未来他的生活是不是很幸福，这是我最关心的。而 ChatGPT 它的出现，我觉得给了我们一个绝好的机会，让我们打破这种刷题做作业把孩子时间完全占据的这种教育的模式，给了我们一个千载难逢的一个好机会。我觉得这是对我们孩子的一个大大的礼物。
As a father, of course, we are talking about my two diamonds. They are very important to me and play a very big role in our life. So yes, I am worried. But what is it I'm worried about? I'm not worried about the AI, ChatGDP and so on. What I worry about is the life quality. Are they happy? Do they smile when they go to school? Do they smile when they come home from school? And so they become complete in themselves as a human being. I love they have critical questions. I love when they argue with me. And for me, that's important, that they find themselves, they find their own identity, and whatever from a development of the society, ChatGDP, computers, telephones, I don't worry about.
Peter 讲得很好。是这样，就是 ChatGPT 它的出现，使我们对于学生的他的学习任务和目标就会发生一个很大的改变。这种记忆性的学习和这种枯燥的练习将变得毫无意义。GTP 的出现会让学生们更多的是拿出更多的时间来去做感受性的学习，去思考，就批判性思维去思考，还有就是去习得很多东西习得是他在现实生活中去生活去练习，这样子他才能够掌握未来他的这些学习的能力和生活的记忆所以 GTP 的出现会改变中国现在学生他整个的学习方式和学习目标，我觉得这是一件大大的好事。
I totally agree with what he says. It's, like I mentioned before, it is very dear to me that my kids, they really thrive and can have the opportunity to try things that really have meaning for them. And therefore, it is so important that we support them in the right way and in order to find their way in the future.
Peter, 你是否知道你的孩子每天在学校做什么？
I try to involve whenever they have questions, whenever they face obstacles. It can be their homework, it can be in life, it can be how they cooperate with friends, how to handle their mother. It can be all these things that they try, that they question every day. But I also do not. What I want to try to do is that they can come and ask questions if they need, and I will be there for them. That is what I think is very, very important for them to be able to have somewhere. They have a foundation. They can always go back. They can always come. The door is always open, and there is no question that is big enough. There is no question that is small enough. They are always welcome. And for me, at the end of the day, it's important that they dare to take their own decision. They have gathered so much information. It can be from my wife. It can be from me. It can be from the grandfathers, the grandmothers, the history, combining that with new knowledge from GDP or whatever. But that they dare to take a decision and tell themselves, this is what I want to do. This is the road that I'm going, based on all the information that I have. So, on all your points, I actually agree with what you say. I think it's an interesting. If I had the same possibilities when we were young, it's not many years ago, but if we had ChatGDP when we were young, what could have happened today if we have used it at that time? I don't know, but I think it's a fantastic tool if it's used correctly. So correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that it's a tool that you have to use right, and when you don't use it, put it in your toolbox, personal toolbox, and when you have to use it, you can bring it out and use it. I don't know if you agree with that point.
你的儿子要交女朋友，你是希望他问你，还是问 ChatGPT？
That's a very good question. Very hard to answer. I believe that I would wish that he's capable enough to use different tools, if it's his father or if it's ChatGDP, so he is able to take the best choice for him. But personally, of course, I would be sad if he used somebody else to get a question about an answer from life if he don't want to talk with his dad.
OK， 非常好啊。这就刚才我们在讨论的时候，就是 ChatGPT 能不能替代人啊？就是如果我们把人做好了，我想 ChatGPT 是替代不了我们的。但是如果我们把我们自己的人做不好，可能就会被替代了。ChatGPT 就像 Peter 讲的，它就是一个工具，而且是一个高效的、强大的工具啊。但这个工具，如果我们能够很好的把人做好，它就是工具啊。如果我们人要是成长的不好，你就会被工具所控制啊。像这种应试的这种学习，据我了解到的，它对于人的成长是非常不利的。这样子的人，他人格成长不完善，他就很有可能被 GDP 或者说其他的这种电子产品所控制，比如说网瘾。所以最重要的是让孩子在什么样的年龄去让他做什么样的事情而不是从很小的时候就让他做他不喜欢的事情，而且让他永远做他不喜欢的事情，这样子他就会出问题，他就会被 GDP 这样子的机器所取代。对，所以我们更应该担心的是我们是不是做好人了，而不是担心 GDP 会取代我们。
It's exactly right. ChatGDP actually puts high demands on parents. New technology will put a higher demand on parents, and also for the teachers that is teaching our kids the things for the future. So yes, I am concerned, but I'm mostly concerned about that we are able to provide this system, this environment that make our kids grow and thrive for the future. That is what my biggest concern is. I don't know if he has the same feeling like me.
我也一样。所以尤其是中国的家长吧，有时候我们会在自己的一个信息茧房里面出不来，我们总认为只有应试一条路才可以让自己的孩子获得未来的幸福。其实不然，尤其是面对现在 AI 的这种飞速的发展我们面对这样一个完全不确定的未来，只有做好我们自己，让孩子做好他自己，他才能够真正去应对我们现在完全不知道的未来如果我们认为未来有一个确定的一个模样比如说我今天上一个好的小学，我可以上一好中学，我就可以上一好大学，我有一个好工作，我就娶一个好媳妇儿我就可以有未来美好的生活。这个是原来的模式，不是未来的模式。未来的模式一个我个人认为未来的模式一个最重要的一个特征就是不确定，未来一个人能够如何去面对不确定，是一个人内心他的力量才能够去把握自己的 而这种力量往往来源于快乐。
Definitely, yes. It tends to be that when I see where my kids comes from and where they are currently, when I try to learn them something at home, when I try to inspire them, I think I normally use myself an example, and I tell them, you know, Father have made so many mistakes in his life, but I have made 3 good things, and that is making you two and finding my wife. But I learned from my mistakes, and it tends to be that you learn mostly from making mistakes. Every time you make a mistake, you learn much faster. But when you really want to learn fast, have fun doing it. Make it fun and make it interesting. And then the speed of learning, and I enjoy making mistakes with my kids. I enjoy making mistakes with my wife. And I don't think ChatGDP can copy that one.
是的，是的，说得非常好。就是没有错误，只有成长。就是我听说，就是在丹麦0到9年级是没有考试的啊，所以丹麦的学生比中国的学生幸福100倍至少。还有就是现在丹麦的学生基本上是无纸化学习了吗？我也是看到很多学校，就是他们的学习是不用写的，或者不用大量的写字。
I will first correct myself a little bit to what you said. We have exams every year, but it's more to see what level they are according to national standards and things like that. But like I said, I don't care so much about the exams, actually. I focus on if they are happy or not. 9th grade, 10th grade, high school, I tend not to look too much into their grades, I have to say. Paperless schools, I don't know actually if we have paperless schools or not. But I can say from my experience, it's like that. Whenever I have to really concentrate on something, I'm old school, so I take a pencil and I write down myself, because the more I write, the clearer it becomes in my head. So I do not know if we have paperless schools, actually. I have to be honest about that. But I have seen that my daughter and my son, they never write anything by hand. They always use computer now. And it goes fast. It goes really fast, even faster than I can follow. So I'm not afraid for the future and GPT. I'm not afraid of it at all.
对，我这样讲是因为在中国的学生中，写字，尤其是在小学低年级段，对于小学生是一件非常艰巨的任务。汉字的书写比这种字母的书写要更难，而且我们的老师对他们的要求非常的高，要求他们写的整齐，写的漂亮写的干净就是甚至于写的和别人一样，这样会占据他们大量的学习的时间，而且他们很不快乐，而且他们对学习很反感，他们觉得学习是一件很没有意思的事情。
I think both of us can agree upon that learning must be fun. I think we both can agree upon that we want to do the best for our kids. So I'm not afraid of the future. I'm nervous about the system being able to handle this speed and this development, because if we let the kids decide, they will very fast tell us what they want and what they don't want. So are we going to put limits to their education? Are we going to put
limit to their own development, that's the big risk of putting regulations and putting borders and stopping them from develop. I believe that, like we started with talking about, development is a natural thing. If you try to block it, it will find its own way. And so make the room big enough to handle GDP in the right way. That, I think, is the key point for the future.
Thank you. I think that was a very optimistic and hopeful ending to this discussion. Thanks for joining us now. Now we are ready to talk to some teachers who are educating on a daily basis. And it's obvious that artificial intelligence and these chatbots, they have enormous potential. But how can we as teachers actually use this potential in a beneficial way for the students? And that's something that we'll discuss today with Guo Wenhong and Lisako. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
I would love to hear you both introduce yourself shortly. Where do you come from? Where do you teach? And what is your background? Would you like to start?
大家好，我是来自中国江苏南京芳草园小学的数学老师，我姓郭，我叫郭文红，非常高兴来到丹麦参加这次论坛，也非常愿意在这里跟 Lisa 老师一起探讨关于人工智能这个话题。
And my name is Lisako, and I'm a math teacher, and then I teach technology comprehension. It's a new subject in the Danish school. It's not everywhere where we teach it, but I do because I think it's so necessary for the children to have digital competences. I've been teaching for really many years, and in my free time after school, I teach in the coding parts where we learn children about technology in an after-school context. So I know the school way to do it and the after-school way to do it. I think I'm very curious, and that's the main thing for me, because I'm curious, how can we have a good life in this world with all this technology? And how can we teach the children to have the good life with a lot of technology and things we don't even know, things that's not even invented yet? So as a teacher, we are in a special position because we need to see what is the demanding of the future for the children.
特别认同 Lisa 老师的观点。我觉得要帮助孩子善用这个人工智能，可能我们首先要了解这个人工智能对于孩子来说，对于我们老师来说，都分别有哪些优势，或者说可能会给我们带来哪些影响。我也愿意把自己的一些想法，跟 Lisa 老师做一个分享。
Thank you. I think it's necessary for the children to learn how to code, and all the technology is a new language that the children need to learn about. They need to learn about coding, they need to learn about hacking, they need to learn about AI, VR, and so on. And artificial intelligence is so new and just coming like a bomb into our lives. And we need to prepare the children for the rest of their lives, because the technology is here and it will never stop.
特别好。那么我作为一个中国的数学老师，没有这个 Lisa 老师这样专业的这个人工智能的这个水平和技术。那么我也在有限的使用人工智能或者计算机辅助教学的过程中，发现了一些怎么说呢？好和利和弊吧。利呢就是这个人工智能啊，计算机辅助教学啊，它的这个反馈特别及时，然后呢，这个信息量特别大，还有就是非常的诚实和规范。因为用计算机啊，它非常诚实和规范。还有一个呢，用计算机的时候，对于孩子来说，对方的情绪始终是非常平稳的。 那么这样的一些计算机帮助孩子的这个学习呢，会让孩子觉得有安全感。因为如果碰到一个老师情绪不好的，就会让孩子很紧张嘛。但是你计算机它永远是保持一个非常温和的态度，对吧？这样的孩子就非常能够获得一种安全感。这种安全感呢，会让孩子更加这个愿意去学习，这样呢，他也能在学习中，才有可能在学习中获得一种快乐。这是好处。坏处呢也有，坏处我觉得就是会让孩子缺少了人和人之间的那种交流和互动。不管这个 GPT 它再怎么智能，它也就是一个冷冰冰的机器，它不可能有人和人之间这种眼神的交流啊，肢体的接触啊，对吧？它缺少这种互动。那么这个从对人的发展来说，我觉得并不是特别好的，缺少一个和周围环境的人的这种互动链接。另外一个呢，因为 GPT 就是人工智能，它的反应速度太快了，反馈太快了。其实我们人是特别需要这种及时的这种反馈的。那么你就会对这个机器，会对这个计算机产生一种依赖感。这种依赖感呢，其实我觉得是会剥夺孩子的未来的这种创造力，他的主动性，因为他觉得有那么一个现成的东西在那儿，我干嘛不用它呢？对吧？人的思维认知其实它是有惰性的，他肯定是愿意觉得，这有一个现成的，我就用这个现成的。所以我觉得，这两个缺点吧，一个是缺少互动性，会斩断他的社会性链接，然后培养了孩子的对智能的人工机器的这种依赖性，会使他们缺少一种创造力。我认为这两点缺失是会影响孩子未来的这种快乐幸福感的。这是对学生的，还有对老师自己的。我觉得这个不断兴起的这个人工智能也好，计算机也好，对我们老师来说，它是一种挑战，也是一种机遇。它会逼着我们去不断的主动学习，不断的去去深入的了解日新月异的科学技术，对吧？这对我们来成长，对我们自身而言，这是一个非常好的成长啊，这是一个非常好的成长。那么对学生来说，这也是更要求我们作为一个老师，尤其是我们对小学生10岁左右的孩子来说，要努力的为他们创设更好的环境，给他们更多的选择。其实这个环境和选择就是为了帮环境，然后给孩子做出更好的一种解释，一种正确的解释。就面对人工智能，我们应该如何来看待它，对吧？我可以选择它，但我也可以有其他的选择。那么这样呢，就帮助孩子有更多的一种选择。这是我觉得对我们老师来说是一个挑战，也是一个不断的深化、不断学习、不断成长的一个机遇。同时呢，我觉得因为这个计算机啊，它太强大了，它强大到已经让我作为一个老师，一个传统的老师，会感觉到自己被需要、被认可，被学生依恋的这种感觉也会消失。我觉得这或多或少也会削弱我作为一个教师的这种幸福感。先到这儿吧。这就是我目前对这个问题的一点感受。
I have thoughts about AI too, and I think that I don't think it will do anything bad for us as human, as two people standing and talking. I have had many examples where one child said, facts is this, and the other child said, fact is this, and then we see what do the AI say. And then they ask ChatGPT, and then we can laugh and say, oh, no, that's not good. That's not the right answer. So I think we could use it as a tool, and I don't think it will happen. It will make the eye contact and the contact between people bad. I think it will do something good because we have a third opinion, and then we can discuss further on what do we think. So that's what I think about from the children. And then I think I'm much more nervous for the phones, mobile phones, and the children, because they're using too much time at that. And then they have a distance to other children because they are seeing the world through a mobile phone and that's not good. So I think we should lay down the mobile phone, and we should use both the mobile phone and the ChatGPT as a powerful tool to have new knowledge, to have more angles on a subject, to have a better understanding. So I see it as a tool. Okay. And then I think it's very good for the children's motivation in school that we have some powerful digital tools, because we are all living in the 2023, and the world is full of powerful technology, and we need to learn the children how to use the technology in a proper way, not just as a way to cheat or a way to have fast results or to write something for us that we should write ourselves. We need to teach the children how to use the technology in the good way. We need to see children with technology comprehension. They need to understand what the technology do with our lives, how it change our everyday lives. And I like to see when the children are producers instead of consumers of the technology. And the children can learn about the technology by playing with it, by having good examples that shows them, oh, that's what it is. It's not just ChatGPT as something I can use. It's a powerful tool, but I need to understand how it functions and what I can use it for. And I think as a child, you can use it in one way, and as an adult, you can use it in another way. I ask the children, I told the children a small story because I got a sack of apples from my sister, and then I asked ChatGPT, what should I use? How could I use all those apples? And then ChatGPT gave me some good recipes, and I could make some good things out of the apples. It was not about cheating, it was about finding new knowledge. And then I asked the children, they were third graders, 9, 10 years old, I asked them, how would you give the ChatGPT a good question? How do you need this ChatGPT when you're 9 or 10 years old? What's a good question? And then they found the good questions, what they would like to use the ChatGPT for. And that's the point. We need to find the good way to use it, not just consume it.
特别好，特别认同。就是先有一个小疑问啊，丽丝老师说他们都找到了很好的这个方式，能不能举一个例子
？I asked the children to find the good questions that were useful for them in their life about Chat, and they could find, and what would they ask ChatGPT? So they got some good answers. And they asked ChatGPT, some of them were very interesting in cats, and they would like to know some more things about cats. I think some of them, it was sizes. How big could a cat be? Because before it was a lion or something like that. How big could a cat be, and how small could a cat be? And I didn't know, because I don't know anything about cats. But they were interested in cats, and in some ways I could transfer it into mathematics teaching, because I'm a math teacher. And then the size of cats and the answers for ChatGPT ended as a math teaching lesson. That was one thing, but it was meaningful for the children because they were interested in cats. And how much could a cat eat? And then the other children got more mathematic-like questions that they could ask the ChatGPT. And suddenly they knew a lot about cats and about food and sizes and so on, and how long time they could live. There was a lot of mathematics in a cat because they found some information on the ChatGPT. So that's one way to see it, to do it and use the ChatGPT, because we can have informations that we can use in the subjects in the school. I think it's very important to let the children participate in the in the lessons and have their opinion and what's meaningful for them. What's meaningful for them is not always the same that's meaningful for me. And I think it's very important to listen to the children. And if their interest is in cats, then I think they like mathematics much more. So I think it's about motivation, and it's about knowledge. And then the third very important thing is that it's also about having knowledge so that you know when the ChatGPT or the artificial intelligence is cheating you, is making something not good for you. It's wrong, a wrong message it comes with. So I think it's the third thing that's why the children need to learn a lot about ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, because it's all over, and it's good to make mistakes, but not too many. It's good to love your mistakes, but it can be hard. So I think it's very important to teach the children in technology so that they know what it is and what it do in your life, because every technology has an intentionality. It will something for us, because of us. It will earn money on us. It will use our data. It will unsecure our life. It will sell stuff to us. So that's why we need to be good citizens and good at technology.
非常非常认同这个 Lisa 老师说的，特别是他那个通过 GDP 引发学生的通过猫可能那个例子啊，引发学生学习数学的兴趣。他说的要善用这个人工智能，同时呢是把人工智能当做一个我们自己学习成长的这个工具。特别还说了一个，就是可以激发孩子们的这种探索欲，我特别认同。在这儿呢，我想补充一点，就是比如说我就用这个猫这个例子哈，它可以到 GPT 去问猫有多长啊，它爱吃什么呀，对不对？好，我们具体说啊，比如说猫，打个比方啊，比如说40厘米，对不对？那我觉得孩子首先要通过自身实践的学习和探索，他能认识到厘米是怎么回事儿。否则的话，GDP 告诉你它有40厘米长，他也可能无法真正的明白这个到底代表的什么意思，对不对？所以这就说到了孩子他其实有一个在学习、在善用、在把 GDP 当工具之前，他可能要有一些人类最基本的，比如说语言的发展啊，你得跟他交流啊，对吧？然后这个阅读能力啊，然后还有一些生活实践经验啊，包括一些最基本的认知啊，比如说我们刚才说数学里面说认识米啊，认识厘米啊，认识这个分米啊，这都得通过人和人之间的老师的一种传授也好，家长的一种引导也好，他必须在实践中获得了一些最基础的知识以后，他才能拥有跟 GPT 对话的这种能力。这是我说的这个。然后刚才 Lisa 老师说的3条，积极的动机、获得知识，然后辨别错误，我都非常非常的认同。我觉得其实不管是 GDP 也好，还是其他什么人工智能也好，还是现在日新月异的其他的科技也好，其实每一样东西它可能都存在两面性，对吧？那作为我们老师，作为教育者，我们是希望我们的传承的人类知识的这个叫播撒吧，啊，对吧？任何事情都有两面性。那么作为老师，作为知识的这个传播者，作为引导学生成长的一个重要的他们生命中的重要他人，我觉得我们都应该有一种这种开放的心态，然后这平等的态度，保持对话。这也是我这一周到丹麦来最明显的感受啊，一种这个保持对话，在商量中，在讨论中，和学生一起这个来面对这个日新月异、不断飞速发展的这个科学技术，和学生们一块儿来寻找生活的意义，寻找生命的价值。应该让每一个孩子，包括我们自己，都在这个过程当中，这个不断的成长。 然后呢，至少明白一条，在任何情况下，我都是有选择的。我可以选择人工智能，我也可以选择更加有利于我生命成长的这个幸福快乐的其他选择。在这个人工智能对我们影响的利和弊之间，找到属于每一个人的最佳的一个平衡点。我想这个平衡点也不是政府能够决定的，也不是学校能够决定的，应该是每一个人自己发自内心的去感受到的。
I think that we will see a lot of papers from the government because they need to frame how we use the technology in school and in society. And I think the EU will do it too. So I think we will see a lot of new rules. And I think it's very important now to realize that the way the technology is getting bigger and bigger and have a bigger position in our lives, give us some challenges because we can't work as fast as the technology are developed. We can't run fast enough. So we need to be very thinking about what we are doing. And I think where we are now, the technology is faster than us. And I think we need to change the schools. We need to change the math teaching because we need to have new subjects in the math teaching. We need to learn a lot more about data and statistics. We need to change the math teaching because the students can find all the answers at the ChatGPT. So we need to change the exams too. So we need to make a transformation of the school systems about the way we think about the subjects we teach. And we need to prepare the children for the life that technology have given us in a way so that the children will have a good life, a life in balance, a life where they are not like robots, but like children. And I think that the adults now, we are clever enough to make sure that the children will have a really good life. And they will look for the benefits of the technology, and that's what they will use. But the children need that we as adults and as teachers make a transformation. We see, I don't know everything. Teachers do not know everything anymore. So we need to change the way we teach because knowledge has changed.
This is a very interesting conversation, but we're slowly running out of time. So if you have one quick comment here at the very last minute, then you can make it. Otherwise, we need to round it off here.
今天非常高兴，非常荣幸认识这个丽丝老师，能和他有这样的一个对话。我特别幸运，在我们中国还没有开放 GDP 的时候，我就已经能够和一个在课堂教学中运用了 GDP 的老师对话，我觉得这对我的帮助特别大，因此我感到特别的幸运。非常感谢丽丝老师，也感谢这次的论坛会。他今天的很多的那个想法说法对我都特别有启发和帮助。所以就是补充这一句。
And I will say, I think in schools we need to teach the children to the future, and the future competences that they need are all what the technology can't do. And that's the most important thing. And then thanks to you, it has been wonderful for me to meet a colleague from another country on the other side of the world. It has been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. That ended very peaceful. It's great to see you. Welcome back. Now we're talking to the real experts, the students. They will talk to us about their everyday lives and the way that they use ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and how it influences them in their daily lives and their school life. I would like to welcome Wu Xinqing and Zhang Weiqing. And I'd also like to welcome Guy Chenxiong and Christine Thomsen. Would you like to briefly introduce yourselves? Just tell us your name, your age, and what school you go to.
Well, I'll start. My name is Guy. I'm 14 years old, and I go to a private school in Denmark, which is named Henriette Hørlyk School.
Yeah. My name is Christine Thomsen. I am 15 years old, and I go to the same school.
我叫吴欣莹，13岁，然后在北京日日新学校就读。
然后我叫姜维钦，今年13岁，然后呢和他一样都在北京的一所私立学校日新就读。
Thank you. Good to have you here. So we're talking about ChatGPT, and I would like to ask you, when was the last time you used it, and what did you use it for?
Well, I don't use it very often. I believe the last time I used it was on Snapchat, which is a new installed AI. It's called My AI, and well, you can't get rid of it. That's one thing. But yeah, I just asked it some questions, just ordinary, like how many languages it could speak and just ordinary stuff.
I used it actually this Friday because I was making a speech for my cousin, and I didn't really know what to write, so I asked it like, do you have ideas for like what I can write? Was it helpful? It actually was. It helped me like start making the speech.
What about you two? Have you tried using ChatGPT or something similar?
我上一次使用大概是1个月前，就是在中国的话也是比较难用到 ChatGPT。上一次的话大概是我写完了一篇作文，然后我们老师留的作业，然后我的父亲然后利用了 ChatGPT 来给我去看一下 ChatGPT 是如何完成同样主题的作文，然后我写完之后看了 ChatGPT 对比一下我们写的区别。
然后我上次用也就是1个多月之前吧，我用的也不多。然后就是那时候我妈就是帮我把那个 GPT 搞出来了，然后我就是随便问了他一些问题，然后他就回答的也就我挺认同的。
I also want to ask you, in the media and also among grown-ups, there's a big discussion about ChatGPT, but is it also something that you discuss with your friends?
I would say so. Like in our classes and stuff, we've been asked primarily by the teachers, like what we think about it, and also to each other, we've like asked to like, have you seen this new thing? And like, isn't it like awesome, or isn't it like amazing what it can do? And like, so yeah, we have talked with different people, but mostly we've only heard about it in the media.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about it. Well, at least I do sometimes. But that's also an example of about what good it's doing and also what bad what's not so good about it. So just an example with the Snap AI. The Snap AI is basically you can't remove it, so it's stuck on the top of the list, which some people feel is annoying. So that could be a topic to talk about.
我和我的朋友大概就是聊，就是你有没有用过这个 ChatGPT， 或者就是比如说我们会聊，其实我们会问他的问题，或者他给出的回答，就是他给出的回答一般就是比较出其不意或者非常惊人啊之类的，就大概聊这种非常新，然后同时非常惊人的一种新的这个算是人工智能 AI 吧。
我和我朋友就是在日常生活中聊的并不多，就因为 GPT 在就是中国就是没法用，然后所以就是可能有些人就没有用过，所以我们聊的并不多。
some of the things we discussed just before was the use of technology in education in classes. What is your experience with this? When do you think it's useful to use technology in school?
I think it's about like using it as like a help, but not as, you know, not like abusing technology. So I think it's about using it as a tool, but not like abusing the technology. So if I used ChatGPT, it would be important that I used it as just like inspiration, because if I used it as like, if I took all the things from ChatGPT wrote, I wouldn't learn anything.
I think over the broad topic of technology, I think that you can use it to lots of good, you know, calculating different things in just an example, mathematics, but also I feel it's important to learn how to do it in writing. So how to draw graphs instead of just going into a technology app and making it draw one for you. So you can't rely on just technology.
我觉得 ChatGPT 对学生或者对人的好处和坏处源于我们怎么用它。就比如说，我曾经要写一篇关于杜甫一个中国诗人的文章，然后我让 ChatGPT 帮我列出杜甫的生平，然后他就很快的给出了答案，大概把杜甫的一生到他的去世都给我了一个非常详细的介绍。我觉得如果这种用法，然后我再去写这个作文的话，会让我的作文可能会因为我对杜甫有了更好的了解，可以让我的作文写得更加的好。我觉得如果你用一个好的方法让他给你介绍知识的话，ChatGPT 对我们是有帮助，或者它是有好处的。但是如果滥用 ChatGPT， 你直接得到答案就是过度依赖它，就像比如说有学生拿写论文之类的 ，ChatGPT 我觉得就是并不是一个好处，并且会给人类带来危害吧。
我就是感觉 GPT 的就这种人工 AI 和 GPT 的这种好处就是你可能就是没有的时候，你可能在互联网搜，它有一些消息它就是没有用处，然后 ChatGPT 的话，就可能可以帮你筛选，然后就是可以过滤一些没有用的东西。但是就是如果你就是用多了之后，你可能自己就失去那种自己去查找答案的这种能力，然后可能就是对你以后的生活可能有一定的影响。
Yeah, thank you. So we can't look into the future, but it feels like something very new and exciting is going to happen with this ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. What do you think will be important to learn in school now for you, but also in the future? What kind of skills do you think will be essential?
I think because technology has such a big impact on us right now, and it isn't like that long ago that it's like started being integrated into school, and it's so integrated into school now that I think it's going to continue growing, like influencing our day-to-day lives. So maybe the skills we need to learn is like it's like being independent from technology. So being critical, I think. Being critical of what we like see and like how we consume like the media and the internet as a whole. Because if we rely too much on the technology, we'll end up losing some of our like critical thinking skills. So I think continuing to focus on critical thinking is important.
Yeah, I believe that also something important. I mean, since all this technology is, rising, and I think it's important to learn about it, and maybe also continue the learning of all this technology and how to use it. Furthermore, also to go back to the old days and actually learn how to do everything by hand, and mathematics. Just again an example to just do it like right. Know how to draw graphs, stuff.
我觉得现在科技也是发展迅速，然后就是很多职业它会被人工智能或者说机器人所替代。我觉得很重要的技能就是大概是创造性，就是因为 AI 啊，包括人工智能，它都是在学我们人类以前或者以往的历史啊或者知识，它缺少创造性。我觉得我们之所以跟 AI 的区别，就是我们拥有创造性，我们会自己独立思考，是自己独立有对事情的判断。
我就是感觉现在就是 AI 的迅速发展，它可能就是让人的生活会变得特别的便捷，有一些简单的一些工程，然后就是不需要特别多那个动脑子去想的一些东西，就是想象力的一些东西，它可能就是机器人都会就是取而代之。然后所以我就认为我们就是可能需要学会更好的去利用它，然后呢就是把它的利益最大化，然后呢也不要就是对它产生过度的依赖，就是自己还是要就是还是要有就是可能 GPT 可以取代的一些能力。
So my next question maybe has two parts. It's about education in general, and I would like to ask you, what is good education to you, and what is a good teacher to you? And maybe second part of the question, can you imagine a situation, a scenario in the future where part of the teaching is being done by artificial intelligence?
As she said, I don't think like creativity and personality can be like, and like I don't think an AI can like be have a personality and be as creative and as have like kindness in the same way that teachers do. I think a good teacher is a teacher who can understand students and can adapt for their needs, and also makes a lesson like fun to learn, so that like students actually want to learn stuff. So in the future, if AI is implemented as like an AI teacher, I think it would be unfortunate, because as for me, the teacher that I enjoy having the most, and I think learning from is the most enjoyable, is a teacher who has humor and kindness and can like understand feelings, instead of just saying, oh yeah, you couldn't, if I didn't do my homework because I had to do something else, an AI would be like, oh yeah, but you have 10 minutes between these two things. But for me as a person to relax and be calm and stuff, I also have to have breaks. And I don't think an AI can understand that the same way a teacher can.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of difference between an AI teacher and just a normal teacher, and that is also that implements the caring that normal teachers have, and the understanding of other people, right? And so the AI teachers don't understand this, and I honestly can't think of a future with AIs as teachers. What I can think of is that is teachers using AI to make themselves smarter, but still being taught by the teachers, so that you still have this social connection, which is one of the most important things about being human.
我觉得一个好的老师能给我们的，也许就是不仅仅是最后我们会得到的一个知识，更是重要是探索的过程。就是老师也许不会直接把答案给你，更是让你去自己学会如何去学习。同时，我觉得一个好的老师，他会不仅会就是给你探索的过程，同时他也就是会理解你，就是像两位所说，或者温暖你，他会理解你的情绪。我觉得这是学习中一个非常美好的东西。如果 AI 当了老师，我觉得在将来，我觉得我可能并不会喜欢一个 AI 老师，因为他可能就是并不能理解我的情绪，也并不会给我一个探索学习的，就是探索自己去学习的过程。 我觉得这些学习就是非常美好、非常快乐的东西，都会被 AI 给取代。
我感觉好的教育其实就是在有一个好的老师的基础上的。然后那就是什么是好的老师？我就感觉好老师可能就是更是会像你的一个朋友，然后就是你有问题了，你就可以随时去问他，并不是说就是他教完课之后，他可能也对你不负责任，然后就他说了他要教，他教了他要教的，然后就没有事情了。然后我感觉就是好的老师可能就是跟你的互动，然后也会比较多，然后就是对课堂气氛的调节也会就是比较好。然后我感觉如果 AI 代替了老师的话，我可能也不是特别喜欢，就因为 AI 作为一个老师的话，那我们就是可能并无法去看到老师可能之前老师讲课的一些肢体语言，然后可能就是对这个知识的理解会更困难一些，然后就是也可能就是那个教完之后，我可能也并不会有太深刻的印象，就是可能没有一些人与人之间的互动。
So I think that AIs wouldn't have to be paid, and they would always be available 24/7. So I think that at some point, some country will probably at some point try to like make AI teachers because it would be so much cheaper. But as a student, as a person, as a human, of course, I just don't think it would be received like positively by students, even if that AI would greatly improve upon like lessons, as in it would understand students' levels better because it could like check through all their work and make different like work for individual students for each of their levels. I don't think it would be received positively, even if that happened, because like the teachers I like most are the ones who have compassion.
I just have one last question. When you look at your future and our future, are you mostly optimistic or skeptical in terms of how we will interact with technology in the wider sense, but also ChatGPT?
That's a really hard question, because like when I was small, like technology in itself was actually like starting up, and now when I'm 15, technology is like an important part of my life. So I don't know how rapidly it's going to like develop in the near future. I hope it's going to be positive and people will be more informed because like technology can provide information from different parts of course the world, and from different it's quicker to gain informations about like different topics because of technology. But I also think because if we use technology and we abuse it in a way, it can also create hostility between like people, because people won't really need to interact as much. I don't really know how I could explain it, but I think technology could both develop positively and negatively in different parts of the world. Some places it will be used to create more war and more instability, and I think some places it will be used to improve upon like our welfare or health, and just like help create like better health. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm a little skeptical or concerned about what chat AI and technology will bring, because it seems that a lot of people are seeing technology as a free ride without any without any consequences, and it's all easy. but I mean, one of the most important things is all the social, right? It's the social life in your life, and I believe that that's more important than whatever the academics and whatever else the technology is good for.
我觉得消极和积极的大概都有吧。就比如说 ChatGPT 的话，或者人工智能，它会给你很多就是知识啊，非常有用的东西。就像是它已经给你了一个基础，很高的基础。如果你在这上面如果你再努力一把的话，也许你可以加上这个很高的基础，你也许会看得更远。也就是它已经给你相当于类似赢在起跑线上。不过如果滥用或者过度依赖科技，我觉得也会带来很多消极影响。比如说 ChatGPT 它太快速的给出了答案，也就是它根本不需要你自己的思考过程。我觉得如果你过度依赖或者反复的去利用 ChatGPT， 你的人类的或者思考啊，包括一切的能力，也许都会被去冲淡，或者你的能力、思考能力或者探索能力会减少。而且我觉得ChatGPT 同时也会影响人和人的关系。对，
我觉得对这个 AI 态度是乐观还是有一些怀疑？其实更是在你怎么利用它的基础上。如果说你把它当做一个工具，在你特别需要查找一个东西，但是你依靠自己的能力，可能并没有找出自己特别满意的东西的时候，你用 ChatGPT 来搜索一些可能是对你非常有帮助的。然后呢，但是如果你遇到任何问题，然后呢你都用 ChatGPT 去解答，相当于你在依靠这个 GPT 来生活，你自己也并没有任何的思考和自己的观点，那相当于你也就是一个 GPT， 只不过你也利用 GPT， 然后差不多这样。
Nice. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was very interesting for me. And thank you for coming. Should we give them a more applause? All right. So the last conversation of the day is going to be between these two very experienced educators, and they're going to discuss the role of ChatGPT for the education system. But first, I would also like to hear you two introduce yourselves, Mogens Godballe and Li Cheshi.
My name is Mogens. I'm former principal at Nordfyns Højskole. I've been working together with China for 6 years, interpreting the fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen and bringing them into early childhood pedagogics. And we have received more than 300 pedagogues and pedagogical leaders from China on this school to re-educate them. So I'm very interested in how we can assist and how we can exchange ideas and share ideas with China in this transformation or transition society.
好，大家好，我叫李振熙，来自中国。我曾经是一位一线教师，教语文，做班主任，后来也做过校长。现在是中国教育30论坛的成员。我也很高兴能够到丹麦来参加这个论坛，就人工智能与教育这个关系，谈谈自己的看法，和丹麦同行进行交流。
Great. So before we get started, I'm just curious to hear, we've had all these interesting conversations during the day. Is there anything that stuck with you?
其实ChatGPT 虽然刚刚出来不久，但这个话题其实是一个很久的话题了。因为当互联网兴起的时候，人工智能就已经开始和教育发生关系。因此我的意思就是说，对这个问题的思考不是基于现在新的人工智能出现，而是很早就至少有20年了吧，我们都在思考这个问题。那么在我看来，人工智能它对人类来说，对教育来说，既是一种威胁，也是一份礼物，看对谁啊。说它是威胁，的确，这个人工智能它将取代人类做很多事儿。那么如果你把自己这个教师 把自己就当做一个智能人工，那么被人工智能取代是很正常的事儿。就像现在我们中国一些高速公路的那个售票员，就是收费员，现在都是被机器人取代了嘛，是吧？但是我就对多数人来讲，或者说对能够正确的认识人工智能来讲呢，它是一个好事儿。我从总体上说，我是欢呼人工智能的这个到来和它的发展的，至少有3个好处。第一个，ChatGPT 至少在我看呢有3个意义，3个正面的意义。第一个，它丰富了人类的学习方式，多了一个渠道，而且更便捷了。作为学习方式、学习渠道，那么这毫无疑问是一个进步啊。第二呢，它逼着老师们，把这个知识的传授转向关注人的心灵。这是因为如果你还是按照原来的这种教法的话，已经完全有新的技术取代了，那现在逼着你必须做机器人不能做的事儿，人工智能不能做的事儿，这是第二。那么逼着老师转型提升自己。第三，它让教育真正回到本来应该有的样子。教育它本来就对人的心灵、情感、精神，而不只是简单的知识技能，是吧？那么所以有人说人工智能这么发达了，那教育的意义何在呢？我说教育的意义就是人的意义。所以我真的还是充满乐观。我觉得人工智能的飞速发展会让我们的教育回到本来的样子，回归人的本质。
Let me start to thank all the participants from this day, because I think it has been a marvelous day. We have had many different angles on AI for the future, how to use it in families, in schools, in society as a general. So I think we've got so many arguments to bring out in the public debate discussion today, so that we can have a good, fruitful discussion for the coming weeks and months, because this has to be a kind of a democratic civil society discussion among ordinary citizens, so that we can regulate from the bottom. And of course, there will also be some top-down regulation from the governments. But we have all the arguments, pro and cons, for this public debate in China and Denmark and all over in our countries now. So thank you very much for that. 2 observations I would like to mention from today. In the morning, we had the speech from Mads Poulsen from Esbjerghus Efterskole, and he was advocating for a free mindset to establish the rules primarily locally, school by school, so that all the students, the staff are included in making these rules and this regulation, so that it will be diversified and not only one regulation for the whole society. And I think this digital, social, personal formation for the students at Esbjerghus was very fruitful to hear about. And I look forward getting a feedback from him how they're doing and how they're progressing. Then in the afternoon here, I was impressed by the youth and their reflected attitudes towards the chatbot. They were really thinking about the pros and cons and how they use it, and I'm not worried at all after this presentation, because they kept on the role of the teacher, the personality of the teacher, the empathy, and all the human factors. They still are preserved, and they're very important for the teaching process. And I think the youth here, both from China and from Denmark, they were well aware of that, and that really impressed me. So thank you for that.
I would also like to hear from you, with the emergence of artificial intelligence, with the emergence of chatbots, is there something that we need to rethink as educators, and something we need to rethink in terms of how we teach and how we approach education in the future?
So allow me to take the meta perspective today, the helicopter perspective, because I think AI is an excellent, important invention. Historians say that the invention of the wheel was determining. I think this is a new wheel invention. That's a new era, it's a new paradigm in history, because from now, and it has been gradually taking place the last 10, 20 years, but now it's a conclusion that knowledge is not related to the personality. Knowledge is something we can obtain from technologies outside the personal physical body and mind, So that will change the exam system. And as a life educator, I would say, let us now start to abolishing exams, because what are exams? They are reproducing knowledge, traditional exams, and we do not need that because we can take it from the robots. So our future exams will be based on creativity, on art, on poetry, on literature, on philosophy, on the human quality of empathy and socializing. So it will change the whole way of teaching, the whole way of understanding of what is a human being.
刚才这个摩根先生说到这个车轮的发明，我想到了另外一个发明。我想用这个例子呢说明一下，就是人工智能是个工具，但是我们也不要小视这个工具的意义啊，它会可能改变一些观念，包括我们一些事物的性质。比如说战马，我想到战马当初它的用途并不是直接作战的，它是把那个士兵运到战场，然后士兵下了马再作战。后来马镫的出现，马镫啊，这就很了不起。马镫这个发明出现以后呢，人就可以骑到马上稳定，同时也比较灵活，它就改变了作战方式，甚至形成了一个新的兵种，生成了一种战争形态，是吧？当年那个蒙古骑兵不是就把个宋朝给灭了吗？是吧？所以我的意思就是说，咱们不要因此就轻视工具的出现，它不只是工具，但关键是骑在马上的永远是人，这是核心，是吧？就是说这个工具是谁来掌握？我就又说回教育，比如说教育，最早有一个出现的就是 PPT， 就是课件，是吧 ？PPT 出现的时候，当时我们就发现它的好处是，这是个工具嘛，它也改变了课堂结构，因为原来都是板书的情况下，你这个要用太多的时间，或者整个课堂交给学生就不太容易。PPT 出现了，把老师解放出来了，但事先把该板书的就板书好了。但是如果说对于观念没有变的老师来说， PPT 又成了就是给学生灌输知识的一种工具，而不是让学生思维活跃讨论的工具，是吧？那我们现在会使用 PPT， 它就永远是个工具。这个有了这个人工智能以后，我们作为教师，他就做人工智能不能做的事儿。那么哪些不能做的事呢？我举个例子，考试下来，我们中国考试比较频繁，考试完了以后呢，老师要发试卷，结果有一个孩子的试卷只有30多分，这在中国这个分数是很低的。那这个老师把这个试卷发到学生面前的时候，他假装不经意的把这个试卷一角折了起来，目的是把分数遮住，以免同桌的同学看见，因为他知道这个孩子需要尊严，这就是人工智能做不到的。这个还有一个学生成绩也不好，有一天他拿到发下来的作业本上，老师写了一句话，说你是能够学好这门功课的，就这么一句话，让这个学生非常感动。他不但喜欢这个老师，也喜欢这门学科。他后来写作文这样写道：好老师眼里不只是有课本，这也是人工智能做不到的。
Yeah, I totally agree that this invention is changing the whole universe of teaching. So that's also why we have to start from a kind of beginning. But it's important to notice also the difference between the robot and the human beings, and to keep that so that we do not, as human beings, get roboticized. I think one thing is that human beings can think, and the robot can simulate, but it's only based on previous data, big data, and scanning of all kinds of data, millions of data. But it is previous knowledge. So what can be thought is the imagination, the fantasy of human beings, and that can bring new knowledge. And that will be the main part of the exam for the future, as I see it. That will be how can we assess creativity and fantasy and imagination and wondering. How can that develop the human beings into a new era? And also, the robot is not a human being. It's not a physical being. It cannot breathe. It's not born. It's not dying. We have the feeling of being alive, and the ethics of a human being also, that we can think about our consciousness and our attitudes and empathy and all the human factors. Still, we have to focus on them. And now I hope and I dream about getting more time, more focus on that, as I started saying today, that we can develop these human factors to guide the robotization, to guide our life and improve it, so that we can preserve the nature and have a holistic way of developing our society, not so much class division as today, and more fair societies.
This is maybe going to be the last question. It's also a difficult one. And I would like to ask, how do we create a school system where individuals can thrive, where they can grow as human beings, but where they can also gain the skills that are necessary for the world that they're living in?
I think there are many examples in Denmark. Some days ago, we visited Heinsvig School in Billund municipality, and they do the playful learning, meaning that they construct learning themselves, that the kids from 0 to 4th grade, they have workshops instead of classrooms. So they have one issue, the water, and then they go into the issue with all the subjects, the math and the Danish and the biology and all other subjects included in this product-based learning concept, where they construct learning by physically using the whole skills, the body, the hands, and the brain and the heart, working together in small groups and creating something of high quality to be proud of. And this learning process with creating your own learning, I think will be very important for the future.
好，我在回答这个问题之前，我先补充一下刚才我没说完的。我现在倒是有点担心，或者我们要警惕人工智能所给教育带来的一些就是危害。第一就是会不会让我们一些老师把这个人工智能变成了就是继续灌输知识。我本来想说应试教育，他们可能听不懂，就成为应试教育的帮凶，是吧？就是互联网也好，其他科技手段也好，它越发展应该越有益于人类的解放，而不是把人类又禁锢起来啊！你过去搞应试教育不那么方便，现在好了，人工智能帮了这个应试教育的忙，就是灌输知识死记硬背的忙，这是我的一个担心。第二点就是我担心，如果不正确的对待这个人工智能的话，它会让我们的教育的温度更加越来越冷了，人情味越来越少了，说白了，爱心越来越少了。因为我现在搞教育有很多手段，备课我在网上也查很多资料，还有很多辅助手段。那么人和这个人打交道的时间就变成人和机器、人和互联网、人和这个电脑打交道的这个时间。所以我就觉得，我就担心这个人工智能的出现呢，让教育之爱越来越淡了。所以因为这两个原因，我就回答刚才的最后一个问题，就是这个问题是很大的啊。主持人问的这个问题非常大，可以写一本书。
Could I just comment on that shortly? I agree that the volume of knowledge will grow dramatically in the coming years, for sure. But there's still an editing component of transforming AI knowledge into real knowledge, because sometimes you have to be critical, source critical, criticize the sources of the knowledge, and you have to look through where it comes from and how it has been constructed. So there will always be an editing human factor towards this AI knowledge, and that is very necessary for presenting it as exams and tests for the future, I think.
关于这个未来的学校，我想至少有这么几点。首先，教师要特别有爱心。当然，这个话呢说起来比较抽象，好像比较理论化一些。但我想说的是，爱心是通过一些细微的一些举动表现出来的。比如说，我们中国的班很大，一个班50-60个人算是正常的了。那么很多老师啊，他很难在刚开学就把学生的名字叫出来。但有爱心的老师，他会在学生进校之前， 想方设法对着孩子这个照片背后的名字把它背下来。第一天开学，他能够叫出每个孩子的名字，让学生感到惊讶，这就是爱心的表现，这就是人的温度。第二呢，就是这样的老师，他要教给学生人工智能不能给的哪些呢？思想的点燃，精神的提升，情感的丰富，想象力的飞翔。他要教给学生批判性思维，每一堂课都是思想争锋的这么一个场合平台，这都是机器人无法教给学生的。他与其说要让学生知道什么是对的，不如说更应该让学生知道什么是错的，就是不要迷信，让每个孩子都成为未来的公民。最后就是我希望这样的学校呢，应该是学生作为这个主体，就是一切围绕学生来设置课程，来进行管理，是吧？这个包括学生的自我管理，学生他做自己的主人嘛，包括学生他更多的自由支配的时间由他来做主，因为有了人工智能以后，他学知识更容易了，渠道更多了，没有必要陷在作业里边，他有更多的时间自己做自己感兴趣的事儿。总之，这样的学校呢，应该是人的学校，而不是机器的学校。
Yeah, I agree that the role of the teacher will regain importance, and it is still today, the class teacher and so on. But I can inform you that from 2008 until a few years ago in Denmark, we had also got a kind of robotization of teaching, because there was a tendency that teaching should be based on scientific methods, and the teacher should only be the provider of knowledge to the students according to a scientific proven essence, and that was a very one dimension and very robotic way of teaching, and we have given it up more or less now, but it was based on this external goals, this national test, this understanding of quantifying and measuring and assessing all kinds of knowledge, and that was awful. That was a warning of robotization, I would say, in the Danish school system. And now we are back on regaining respect for the teacher's role.
One last comment, otherwise I think we should round it off here. Yes. Thank you so much for this discussion. It was last comment? Okay, last comment. Jeff.
我最后一句话啊，就是我突然想到了，我们现在对待 ChatGPT 的态度啊，让我想到了当时核武器出现的时候，当然人类也很恐慌，人们觉得，哎呦，这个人类最后要毁灭自己的核武器。但是现在我们由于我们人比较理智，现在核武器不但没有毁灭我们，反而用于造福于人类。所以我觉得我们对待 ChatGPT 就应该像对待当年的这个核武器出现的时候啊，以证明我们人的理智、人的智慧，就是这些。合作愉快。
Now you can shake hands. Thank you so much.
下次到中国来啊，到中国我们再论坛。
I go to Chengdu for sure. Thank you very much. Thank you.